guys, and welcome today. My name is Luisa Bolaños and my name's partner is Andres Alvarez. And the topic of today is gonna be very interesting but at the same time very sad. In this occasion, we're gonna talk about sexual abuse. Sexual abuse has been a very common problem that suffer a lot of people including men, children, and women. But in this case, we are going to be focused in sexual abuse against women. In this TED Talk, we are going to talk about this sexual abuse and the trauma suffered by a woman after this violent memory. Now, to start, it is important to say that this could be a sensible topic because we are going to talk about some experiences that are lived by different women. Now, continue with the last point, the sexual abuse against women has been a big problem, a very common problem nowadays, and for that reason it is important to talk about this, to talk about with all the people that this problem has been growing day by day, and more cases are reported to the authorities, and those reported cases, or the majority of them, never finish their process to bringing the real culprit to the justice, and they can pay for their mistakes or for the heroes because they are a hero. Another important thing to take into account, to know, is that a lot of women feel shame that they don't need to feel. These women to feel shame is because they feel dirty, they feel that they did something to deserve that, but it's not. So it is a false belief. This woman suffered this aggression because a man felt empowered to do it, empowered to do it. So, and also in many occasions the sexual abuse is committed by a family of members, or people close to the family, such as parents, uncles, cousins, friends, or also boyfriends. For example, the case of Yolotzin, a 20-year-old Mexican girl who was sexually assaulted by her boyfriend, by her romantic partner, the person that she trusts, on February 14, celebrating love and friendship. And why did he abuse her if there were a couple? Simply because he was able to do it, even though she didn't want to, even though he didn't listen to her and decided to commit such an atrocious act. Also because he was a man and had the strength, telling her in a violent way with blows that if it was not his, it wouldn't be anyone else. Because of this case and many other cases like this, social networks have become a friend for the victims. Thanks to them, many women have been able to share their experiences about the abuse they suffer at some point in their life, sharing these experiences in Facebook, in Instagram, on Twitter, to be more visible to the other people, using the most common social network that are these: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and among other platforms. In this way, they get women to have been silent for years to record a video and upload it to their networks, to the social network. Thus, this video is a motivation for more and more women to share their experiences, what they suffer, and the subsequent traumas of this violence. It should be noted that not only women are joining to this movement, but also men, and also mothers and fathers of children who have been abused. By sharing their stories, they realize that they know they aren't alone, and that they have a person, even if only through a screen or thousands of miles away, who understand the pain and the trauma that each of them suffer at some point of their lives. Finally, okay, no, not finally, but through this movement, more women have decided formally to denounce and for the competent authorities. But talking realistically, as I said at the beginning, these complaints do not come to nothing. They do not come to nothing. Only some end up with the culprit behind barbs. But even if there are a few, even if there are one or two women that win this case, it is something to be happy about. We need to be happy for those women who can share their experiences and can end this long process with the authorities. Finally, the community has also been able to empathize with their victims and try to put themselves in their shoes, understanding and trying to help them in different ways, such as a help group or simply act to accompany them in the process of overcoming the situation. And this is the most important for a woman or for a man who was suffer sexual abuse in some moment of their lives. Thank you so much for listening. Now, my partner Andres are gonna talk.
Thank you, Lisa. And now we're going to talk about some aspects in terms of discourse. We have seen with Luisa some macro aspects, some bigger aspects in these terms of sexual abuse, which are the common ones as well. But now we're going to talk about some aspects that are in some cases, or those were very relevant in the history. These aspects are the first one is the way how the people used to communicate, and the role that the man and the woman had when discoursing on just in a normal conversation. For example, the woman in nowadays it's not very common, but before the woman had a pacific role. She was like a talking supporter. She wasn't express their ideas in some way, in a free way. They just were like or they just use like share expressions to demonstrate that they were paying attention to the main conversation. Another important aspect is a concept that was named by Robin Lakoff, which is the woman's language. This language was called in this way because it was a softly way to talk, a very weak way to talk, and nowadays call that the way of communicate could be very terrible, because we nowadays we don't express to things if they are rude by men or if they are softly by women. Those are just characteristics that every person and every object or every methodology could acquire be represented by that future, but not with the sex that if this week it's woman language, woman expression, or if it's rude, the men language, men expression. It's not a good way to express about those concepts. Another aspect important here in sexual abuse, but in micro actions, was that a woman were considered as a low capability of understanding. That's why the men had an important role when they were giving a discourse, or when they were discussing on a normal conversation. That was another important aspect that upgrade in some way the power of men in society. And it was our TED Talk. I hope that you were enjoyed, and see you later.